Jean-Pierre Lehmann is founder of the Evian Group, a professor at the International Institute for Management Development. And I asked him about President Xi's comments on the importance of economic globalization.
I think the point is the most emphasis he gave to economic globalization being a positive thing for virtually all players, that it has its side effects, that it needs to be addressed. But at a time when we're seeing increasing amount of deglobalization, protectionism, it was very much a message that economic globalization is important. We've got to resist protectionism. We've got to keep open borders. But we have to be more inclusive and equitable.
Well, let's talk about this balance between free trade versus protectionism. Do you think China is positioning itself and could potentially fill a void left by the United States under a future Trump administration?
Undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. I think the point is that to some extent, it's a question of national circumstances. The United States is extremely rich in every respect, resources, agriculture, etc., etc. So if it becomes isolationist, it will suffer, but not with a big S. China, on the other hand, in the course of the last few decades, has become very, very, very dependent on globalization. In terms of, just to give one example, China has about 19% of the world's population and about 7% of the world's arable land. So it desperately needs to be able to ensure that it can feed its people. And for that, globalization is important to continue having access to markets, access to resources.
Davos is seeing the largest Chinese delegation ever there at the World Economic Forum. Alibaba's Jack Ma is part of it. So considering the audience, what message is President Xi sending?
No, I think as you suggested earlier on, he's sending out a message saying China is prepared to assume the mantle of leadership of the free world economy, of the open world economy. And he's reassuring in a sense. Davos, of course, has always been in favor of a free trade, openness, investment flows, and so on. And he's saying the United States is turning its back, or potentially turning its back, on what it stood for decades.
How do you think it's being received there?
I think quite well. One of the things, to be frank, is his style was extremely good. Very civilized, very balanced, very solemn. But I think he made a very strong plea in terms of openness, inclusivity. And he also indicated that China has problems, challenges that it's facing at the moment, the new normal, lower growth. But it will not resort to protectionism. It will resort to more open policies in order to resolve them.
President Xi heads to Geneva next with visits to UN offices, the World Health Organization, and the IOC. What are you looking for in that visit?
I think it's partly because, of course, the International Olympic Committee is very important in China's experience of coming out. The 2008 Summer Olympics were a great, great, great thing. And the 2022 Winter Olympics, they want to also have to be a showcase. As far as the World Health Organization is concerned, it's absolutely crucial. While the world is in a much better shape than it was several decades ago, there's much reduced poverty, as you pointed out, there is still a great deal of problems in terms of diseases. It's part of presenting an image of not only a responsible stakeholder, but a responsible leading stakeholder.